But let's get to the subject, right? Let's get to the subject.
Right. Can I say this, Afro? Remember, I think we were talking about Carmelo Anthony, and I had brought up we have to really have a conversation about why the need when we get a certain economic level to move into predominantly white tea spaces. Now, in the South, it may be a little bit different because we have more. Well, I can't say that. I didn't really study that. But it's more of us down there. So our affluent towns will primarily be Black American, right? So
Hmm.
we wouldn't really, if we're in the South, we may not need to go to a predominantly white tea area just to have a good schooling. So I did say we need to bring up a conversation about that and look at this. He was the only Black friend. And there's a pad in there. There go that lady that spent the night with them white tea.
Hmm.
Um, so
There's a
yeah.
reason I got both of them up there.
Thank you. I'm gonna
Hmm.
send you a meme if I find it again. It's of a melanated woman, can't say if she's Black American. She's around a bunch of white tea people, and she has them allowing them to put the NOOSE around her neck, and they're like joking about it. Yeah, it's from years ago though. It's from years ago, nothing recent, but still, like we gotta start holding people like that accountable too, because you can't joke
Yeah,
with
we
them a
really
certain
do,
way.
man. Well,
Yeah, I mean.
that's crazy. Look, so you guys, let me give you guys the information that we have on this situation. Okay. Now, the top situation, we already this is kind of an older situation, right? The top situation. Her name was Tamla Horsford. Horsford, right? She had a slumber party, the only black girl there, a whole bunch of white tea girls, as you can see in the picture. Everybody smiling and cool. They all in their pajamas and all that. The next day, the next morning, they found her unalived or unalive. I'm not saying unalived like they did it, but she was mysteriously not alive outside of the house, like laying on the grass outside of the house. And the quote unquote investigation concluded that she fell out a window or she jumped out the window. And when she jumped out the window, that nobody knew because they didn't discover her till the morning. So when she jumped out the window, she, I guess, was unalive on impact or something like that. It was something like that. Something crazy. Something you would see in like a Tubi movie or something like that. Something ridiculous. Nobody was arrested. There was no further investigation. They was all like, oh well, it just looked like this random black girl who never had signs of any type of mental health issue, any signs that she wanted to hurt herself, anything like that. Jumped out a window and took herself just for no reason at a slumber party of all places. Okay, and nobody noticed that. That the only black girl wasn't there until the morning. Nobody knows that. Okay. Then we have the situation down here, right? The situation. His name is Nolan Wells. He's this 4th of July. He's kicking it. He's 18 years old. He's kicking it with his YT buddies on a boat in the water. Okay. And I'm still a little hazy on the story, but he winds up unalived. He winds up a little. He not a little. He winds up unalived. None of the his buddies knew anything. Okay, they went home without him and all that stuff. They said, "Oh, well, he just apparently went missing," according to the group, and they thought he just left, went home, took a quote unquote another Uber, and then it wasn't until I think it was like the next day, because I'm hearing different versions of the story. It wasn't until the next day where they were all like, "Oh, where's Nolan at?" Or the police got involved or whatever the case is. Nobody's arrested in this situation either. Nobody's arrested in that situation. Now, there's a lot of different angles we need to look at this situation from. Okay? So, number one, what we can do. Let's talk about that. What we can do. I understand. I get it. We want to live in a nice community. We want to live in a safe community. We want to raise our kids and our families in a safe community. I get it. I get that. Okay. But what we need to do is we need to deprogram ourselves into thinking white equals safe. We need to stop doing that. Okay? These are the type of people who, when they have a bad day, they go into a closet, grab a piece, and run up into school. Okay? Or a mall. Or a movie theater. Or a church. We need to stop thinking that. These are the same people who will sit up there and take their kids to a lake when they stressed out. Like, we need to stop. Y'all, there's too many people who have this infantilized, not romanticized version of them in their head. They got this version that they see on TV. How they think about their culture is what they see on TV. Where they see a suburban dad mowing his lawn in a suit, okay, in a button up with a tie. He's like, "Hey, John, how you doing?" Okay, and the wife is sitting up there putting the apple pie in the window to cool it off. That's what we think. Or not we, I don't think that, but that's what other people be thinking. That's what other people think about their culture. Okay?
Afro. I'm sorry. So if you read the comments from Sister Riri, she is stating that the lady on top was from somewhere else, another country, and moved there with her husband for work. And that, let me see what else she said. That used to be an all white tea town, and Oprah even visited that town. I guess when she was hosting her talk show. So that kind of makes sense that she went there, because usually Black Americans be like, we ain't go, we're cool with you at work, but we ain't going on no camping trip with you, you know. Not to make fun of the situation, but the
Yeah,
lady
not
on
yeah,
top
yeah.
was a melanated foreigner, I guess.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
foreigners do fall for it, but we got to be honest. It's not, and we got to be honest. It's not just them. It's not just foreigners, and we got to be honest about that, because people losing their life, and we can't just, well, they're probably foreigner, because we wouldn't do that. We know people in our lineage who do that. We know people in our lineage who got no fear of white folk, who don't think none of the wiser. They sit up there be all like, I don't understand what's wrong with them. That's my friend. And they wouldn't do me like that. I know them. We know people like that. Okay? Now, the tethers, they just gonna have to learn the hard way. Fortunately, we can learn. They not gonna learn. Okay? They're not gonna learn anything. They come from cultures that literally worship them. It's one thing to romanticize a group of people. It's another thing to worship them. They come from cultures that worship them. So even if they knew that was going to be their last day, they still probably go over there. Honestly. And ain't nothing I can do to help you if that's the case. If that's the case, ain't nothing I can do to help you. They just okay. They are like, well, at least let me go by the hands of him, by the hands of Brad and Tom. I'm okay, all right. That's how they feel about it. But we need to let our kids know about that. Okay? We need to let our kids know about the warnings of the dangers of that. Okay? Just because, even if you send them to a quote unquote all YT school, doesn't mean they don't have to be around other black people. They ain't got no cousins, they don't got no family, they don't got nobody around. Look, put your kid in some after school thing where there's some black kids. Do something like that. Don't do that. Okay? My parents, I'm gonna tell you something about my parents. My parents didn't pretty much let us spend a night, especially at a young age, with nobody. Except at my grandma's house. It's the only place. We did hit my friend, like the friend of the family's, like a couple times, but that was pretty much it. My parents was not letting me spend the night. They can come over, spend the night, have fun, but us going over there, it was almost a guaranteed no. It was almost a guaranteed no. We wasn't going to nobody's house. Okay? That they come over our house and they can kick it, they can eat and all that stuff, and that's it. So if they are going, look, notice Tom, Brad, Susan, Sarah, all of that. Notice that they only do that when they're in their house. Okay? When they got plausible deniability, it's in their house and all that stuff. That's why they don't like to go. Notice you don't see, they know, okay? All of them do. You don't see them going to black people's house to kick it. They'll be all like, no, dude, you can come over, man. You can come over our house. No, dude. No. If you want to hang out, why don't you go to there? I'm not saying you should hang out with them. I'm just saying if you want to hang out, why don't you go over there? Why do you keep inviting me to your house? Think about that. If you're going to hang out with them, I wouldn't recommend that. You don't got to hang out with people. You really don't. I get it. I get it. Young people want to do that. I get it. Young people don't see the danger. I get that. It's up to the parents to see the danger. It's up to them to see that. There's no way in hell I would approve of my son now, even if he 18. Because 18, you an adult, but more than likely, 9 times out of 10, if you 18, you still living with your parents. Not especially in this economy. 9 times out of 10, if you 18, you probably still living with your parents. Okay? More than likely, you probably are. Okay? There's no way at 18, I'm letting you own a boat. First off, a boat is crazy anyway. Okay? Even if you was around other black folk, a boat, nah, I don't know about that. I got, nah, okay. This summertime, people want to be on boats, cool. You around who? Man, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And my parents knew all of my friends. I didn't have any friends my parents didn't know. Hold on. Not only did my parents know all of my friends, my parents knew all of my friends' parents. So if anything popped off, my parents going to my friends' parents. My parents ain't gonna be like, "Who is Johnny? Who is this? Who is?" No, my parents knew My parents knew the father and the mama of all my friends. Okay, of all my friends, absolutely. Ain't nobody we was. There was people we was cool with, but there was nobody we was actually hanging out with that my parents did not know. I thought my dad was like Batman at a certain point in time. I'm like, how he know his dad? That don't make sense. I met him yesterday. It's like I used to think my dad was like pre-vetting friends for me to be around. I'm like, I just met him, and my dad already know his dad. That don't make sense. Like he was like pre-vetting friends. He was like, okay, well he can hang around my son. He's okay. That's how strict mine was. Okay. That is, y'all. We got too many. We have a generation of way too lenient parents. Parents who rather be friends with the kids instead. Okay?
I ask you a question
Huh?
because my oldest son thinks that I kind of handicap them, keeping them around me all the time, right? So we do have a large family, right? But they only had like one house that they could go to where me or my father wouldn't be there. Any other time, me or my father had to be the one to take them to whatever party was going on. My oldest son feels like I kind of handicap them because of that when it comes to like socializing. Do you find that with your experience?
I mean, I did at a certain point in time. I really did. I thought my parents was doing too much. And all kids are gonna think that. All kids are thinking that they parents. If you have strict parents, and I'm sure you got, because culturally we just have strict parents. We all thought our parents was doing too much and was taking it too far. I thought my parents was way too paranoid. I'm not gonna lie. Then I realized, hey, if I had a kid, I'd do the same thing. And that's just what it turns into. Honestly, that's just what it turns into. Cause I thought my parents was doing way too much. I'm like, oh my God, it's not that serious. Ain't nobody trying to come after me, but yeah. Yeah, but yeah. Um, yeah. How old is your oldest son though?
He's 30.
Okay. He 30.
Yeah, he's 30. But he
He
no,
actually
he just
might be doing it too.
wait, no. He's talking about the way they were raised,
Oh,
right?
okay. Oh, okay.
And then by the time I had my baby, who is now 25, we kind of sheltered him. Like,
Okay.
yeah. And he's like, let that man go outside and stuff. But my youngest son, all my kids really tap in with me almost every other day. But my youngest son, wherever he goes in the city, he has to call us, let us know that he got there safely. New York has changed. And out of all my children, the youngest may not be that street smart because we sheltered him so much. So
Yeah.
my son is like, yeah, you kind of handicapped us, mom. Let that man, let him do what he's going to do. But in the same breath, Afro, if he hears something that's going on in the neighborhood because he doesn't live here anymore, but he's still kind of tapped in, he'd be like, don't let my little brother go outside. I ain't playing today. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
don't know. You know.
No, you doing what you're supposed to be doing, because that way, if anything does happen, okay, God forbid it, but
Yeah.
if anything does happen to him, right? Let's say he get lost. Let's say his phone die. Okay, that's nothing severe, but let's say that happened. You know around what area to start looking. Okay, if he does get, let's say he get robbed. Don't get hurt, but he got robbed. He lost his phone broke, whatever. You know what area he was last in. That's very important, because way too often, if you look at cases of people who've gone missing or anything like that, folk don't know where to look. Folk is trying to contact and find out where was the last place they were seen, and it takes them too long to even figure out where to start looking. If you know exactly where you should start looking, that's very helpful.
Let me say this too. A man in the Bronx was unalived on a bus. I don't even know what the situation was. Was he taking up for himself? But we do have those instances and stuff too. And I'm just a worry ward. So I think it's best if they do call and be like, hey, mom, here, whatever. And then the day go by. But that's just me.
My
Yeah.
mama be doing that too. She just be texting me randomly. My mama still be doing that. She be just texting me randomly. Where you at? I'm in a meeting, ma. Okay. She just okay. Lord, she so yeah. You kind of like my mama in that sense.
Gotta be. We gotta be. But I'm going to mute up because, we have
Yeah, we got
people on the pin.
yeah. Okay, let's get to Q.
Yes, sir. How everybody doing on the panel?
No, we good, brother. We
Hey.
good.
So, my thoughts and my opinion on this, like I say, it's like a scripted movie that I've seen over and over and over and over again. I've seen this happen so many times. I I grew up in Louisiana. I'm from Louisiana, and for a long time it was only BLK or YT people. It was always differences between those, and since times have changed, we got all different kinds of groups coming there, migrating there, doing things different now. So everybody think it's cool to just hang out with YT people. And when I say that, I mean BLK people think it's like cool now. I have a cousin that wrestle, and I have a younger brother that's in college, and most of their friends are YT people. But that's because my parents and my cousins thought that if they go around the YT people, there'll be better opportunity for the children, which I agree to disagree with to a degree, because I do think it's more opportunities when you go with YT people, but also know that it may be a consequence when you go around them for looking and searching for more or better opportunity. And just the rule to me in the community, as far as the BLK community, you never go somewhere and you're the only BLK person. So with that being said, that's why I advocate or try to advocate so much for a hate crime bill for us to be protected under some kind of status, even though they say we're protected federally under the federal laws, but it seemed like when it comes to us, that protection is not there. I see that protection with other groups and other people, but it just seemed like it's just not there unless we're against one another.
Mm,
And I land my plane on that one.
okay. Let me, when you say you feel like there's opportunities being with them, what do you mean? What do you mean exactly?
Well, based on, just far as me, I work in the property management industry, and I've worked with BLK people, and I've worked with YT people. Far as what I see and what I've experienced, I've seen that there are more opportunities
Yeah,
with
okay, yeah.
YT people,
More
but
resources and stuff. Yeah, I
yeah,
got it. More like access to capital and stuff like that.
yes,
More okay, yeah, I got
definitely.
okay. I was okay.
I don't mean it like broadly, like it's more opportunity. I'm not saying that because that would be like a false statement.
Hmm.
I'm just saying is you could climb the ladder a little more dealing
Yeah,
with
because
them.
they
And I'm not
dad
saying
knows the mayor and stuff
yeah,
like that. So it
yeah,
turns into that.
like you said,
Okay,
resources, the network and the resources. I'll say that.
okay. And you know, you make an interesting point, right? When have y'all ever? You guys haven't, because there hasn't been a case. But imagine if it was one YT person and he was around a whole. Imagine this picture, these two pictures, and just flip the races. And it's only one YT girl and a whole bunch of black girls. One YT dude and a whole bunch of black dudes. And the only person who winds up unalived is the YT dude. And there's no arrest made.
Oh man,
All of
it's
them is
gonna
getting
be
arrested.
it's
It's not gonna be one suspect. All of them getting arrested.
or it's
Okay,
gonna
and
be
charged with
civil unrest.
conspiracy. All of them.
It's gonna be arrest and or it's gonna turn into civil unrest, or it's gonna be arrest and still civil unrest
It's gonna
dealing
be
with
arrest,
those.
civil unrest. It's gonna be all over the news. It's gonna be this was a plot. It's gonna be all of that. Okay.
And this is another thing that's strange to me. All three of the boys automatically lawyered up, and their parents are connected to a certain network and got those same resources that we just got through talking about.
Mm,
Like you can't tell me that there's like it's something strange about this story.
yeah.
I don't know
Um.
what happened, but it's definitely something strange and some unrest with that story.
Mhm. Let me see. Yeah. Let's get to Miss Honey and then Jasmine.
Hi, Afro. I just wanted to make something here. So I just found out actually a day or two ago that the Tamala Horsford, the woman in the top, she is Caribbean. I think her and her husband both are Caribbean. So I think that's kind of a little, reason why, she was involved because, that happened in Forsyth County in Georgia. I'm not familiar with it, but I hear that was like a notorious racist county like in the 80s. And I don't think and a lot of, our people know that in Atlanta, but I don't know if she knew about that and her family knew about that. Um, yeah, I wanted to add that in there. And also,
Before you
I
switch
just,
topic, Miss Honey, Forsyth, I believe, have a deeper history than the 1980s. I believe they
I think
ran
so
the
too.
I
right.
opened the
Like there was
garage
a
for them.
race. Mute up, Alaris. I think there was a race. RIOT there, but you could double check me on that.
Yeah, I heard it's been up until it's actually long history, and I hear it's like the most recent thing was like in the 80s. I'm pretty sure it's more recent events than that.
Mm,
But I want to say another thing I find strange. Like everyone covered it, but I just also think it always happens in like things we typically don't do like it's like, well, I don't want to say typically, but it's like the water thing, like there's a history with that, with the boats and the pools and everything, and then like things that they try, they barter us from. And then it's like the camping things. I hear it happens a lot with camping and then everything. I don't know, it's just weird to me. I don't know if it's like some sort of ritual or something involved that, I don't know, to like kind of humiliate your black friend, take them to these spaces and that they're not totally comfortable with. And this happens every time. Like it's a consistent pattern. Um
mhm,
and also, I want to say I kind of had a similar experience, but I remember I was in fifth grade. I was the only one. I went to like this outing with my classmates, and we went sledding. I'm from the city. I've never went sledding before. That was the first time and last time I did it. And I remember like I remember I was on the sled and I went backwards and I went down the hill. And so I got isolated from the group. And so I made my way back up. Thankfully, I made my way back up, but I noticed like no one was really checking for me, looking for me, and they knew this was my first time too doing that. So I was
mm,
like, okay, I think that was the time I learned like, okay, next time I don't think I'm going to do this. And it was just, I don't know. It's just intuition we had as millennials. I don't really see that with a lot of Gen Zs. Like, I don't see them like with situational awareness. If they see some type of signs with certain people, I don't see them learning from it. Like our kids. And I don't know. I think it seems like it has to get to an extreme level to where they actually find out about it, instead of like looking at little things here and there and being like, okay, I'm good on this. I don't have to do anything further. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and when they're like that, they're very stubborn. You can't tell them nothing about their friends. The guy at the bottom, Nolan, right? You couldn't. I'm not trying to beat nobody up. I'm not trying to beat nobody up. I'm not. But you couldn't tell him nothing about these three dudes. If you said, "Hey, man, you're in danger. You shouldn't be around them," he would argue you down. You can tell in this very picture, he feels completely comfortable. He feels like these are his buddies. You can tell by his body language, by his comfortability, he feels comfortable. And if you told him that he's in danger, he would argue. He would get mad at you for saying something about them. All right. And it's unfortunate that's like you said, the situational awareness that, I don't know. And here's the thing. Here's the crazy part. Is that there are always signs. There are always signs. Always. There are always signs, and they get ignored. Always. Always. 100% of the time. Always.
Well, Afro, I'm sorry to cut you off, but isn't his mother Asian? So he may not have gotten the same lessons that a black mama would have gave him.
Well, I don't know about, I'm not
Not saying
sure
that we
about that.
all give, the right lessons, or that we give them all, but I think there's a difference when your mom is not Black American than if she was. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. True. Could be. Very, very much so. Could be. All right. But this even falls into the situation with Carmelo. Look at how his parents is moving. His parents got probably the worst lawyer they could possibly get. You know, there's a thing, especially when it comes to, and I'm really not trying to victim blame. I'm really not. Especially when it comes to mixed kids. Especially when it comes to mixed kids, there's a whole thing of their identity and their awareness of danger is just not there. It's a weird thing. I'm not trying to beat nobody up, but it's a weird thing. If his mom isn't black, if his mom is Asian or whatever the case is, that would make sense. I wouldn't be surprised. It would make sense. It really would. Okay. I'm not trying to beat nobody up. I did hear that Carmelo's attorney filed for a new trial. So shout out to his new team. But let's continue. Jasmine, you got it.
Hey Afro, hey BX, hey panel, hey chat.
And
Again, another topic that has been on my mind for the past few days. And I'm going to say something that's like different from what I've been hearing on this panel and earlier and whatnot. I just had this breakthrough with the AI that I'm training. I'm an architect. I always say that. And I finally got it to start telling the truth. Ethically, though, right? I don't like to make up stuff, not cite sources and whatnot. But what I asked was, what would be some reasons why you shouldn't be the only Black person with a group of white people in the USA historically? I'm going to play that response. And it didn't give me any back, pushing back, whatever. Here we go. Historically, in the United States, there are documented reasons why being the only Black person in a group of white people could carry greater risk than it might today. That doesn't mean every interracial group is unsafe or that race alone determines people's behavior. Many interracial friendships, workplaces, and communities are positive. But if you're asking from a historical perspective, there are several recurring patterns. Some of the major reasons include 1. Lack of witnesses or allies. When someone was the only Black person present, there was often no one to corroborate their version of events if conflict arose. Historically, testimony from Black Americans was often discounted by courts, employers, and authorities. 2. Scapegoating. The lone minority individual could become the easiest person to blame for missing property, mistakes, or misconduct. Numerous historical cases involved Black individuals being falsely accused while surrounded by white witnesses. 3. Mob violence. During the eras of slavery, Reconstruction, and the Jim Crow period, isolated Black individuals were particularly vulnerable to assaults and lynchings by groups. Many documented lynchings began with accusations made when victims were isolated from supportive communities. 4. Social pressure and conformity. Research in social psychology shows groups sometimes pressure individuals to conform. Being the sole minority member can increase isolation and make it harder to challenge unfair treatment. 5. Power imbalance. Historically, white majority institutions controlled employment, policing, courts, education, and politics. If conflict occurred, the lone Black person's access to protection or recourse was often limited. 6. False allegations. Some well-known historical cases involved fabricated accusations against Black Americans, particularly allegations involving white women, which sometimes led to imprisonment or execution. Examples include the Scottsboro Boys trial and the murder of Emmett Till VII. Legal inequality. Before major civil rights reforms, Black Americans frequently lacked equal protection under the law. Segregation laws and discriminatory enforcement created additional risks. 7. Psychological isolation. Being the only one can increase stress, stereotype threat, and feelings of hypervigilance. Modern organizational psychology has studied the effects of being the token member of a group. 8. Economic vulnerability. In many workplaces, the only Black employee could face discrimination in promotions, pay, or discipline with little institutional support. 9. Historical precedent. Throughout U.S. history, many incidents of racial violence occurred when Black travelers, workers, soldiers, or students were isolated from their communities. It's also important to distinguish historical context from present-day assumptions. The United States today has stronger legal protections against racial discrimination than in the past, and millions of interracial relationships, workplaces, neighborhoods, and friendships are built on mutual trust and respect. At the same time, some people still choose practical safety measures in unfamiliar situations, such as letting others know where they are, meeting new groups in public places, or avoiding being isolated with people they do not know well, regardless of the race of those involved. So, from a historical standpoint, the concern wasn't simply being around white people. It was often being isolated within a system where legal, social, and political power was unequal, and where there were few protections if something went wrong. And that's the reason why you shouldn't be the only Black friend. That's an AI that I'm training. It's open AI, but these are my thoughts. The AI is only as smart as you. And again, when you're training it to think critically, and I feed it sources based off of facts, history, science, news articles. And this is something that's lived by most of us, right? If you're Black American. I definitely didn't go to sleepovers with people that weren't in my family. And even in my family, those sleepovers were very limited, right? So that's why you shouldn't be the only Black friend. But I'll land there for a second because I know that was a little bit longer than usual, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Everything. That's a good
I
point.
I wanted to
Let's.
point out too. Did you know, like, notice like the body language in the picture too? I just think really, yeah, especially with Nolan's. Like I don't know. I look at that too. Like it's just, yeah. I don't know if anyone else thinks that too.
Yeah, it's very unsettling. It's very troublesome. Let me get to. Hold on. Let's get to the rest of the speakers though before we. Let's get to Phoenix Rising, and yeah, we'll get to Phoenix Rising real quick.
Good evening, all. I don't think you finished your sentence when you said the body language. What do you read into it, or what do you see from it? I think they were actually posing for a photo. I think the fact that he was out there in the middle of the water with these people is disturbing. because obviously he's not aware of the history. And if his mother's not a Black American woman, that would explain a whole lot. A whole lot. Um, because we have to have the talk. I was bussed out. I mean, I'm from New York, and I was bussed out. I received the white children's education, and at the time it was superior because they had the better funding, as the other gentleman mentioned, resource and access, So having that experience, it was like two different worlds. Everything that they have is intentionally better. That was the only reason that why there was a fight to end the segregation, because there would be no reason to want to infiltrate their spaces. I'm concerned that people are not having these communications, but now they should start having more of them. I remember the twins. Was that last year, the year before, that disappeared, and it was, I believe, a white male firefighter. This is absolutely ridiculous, and there have been numerous cases of strange fruiting. Are they not aware of what's happening in this country? I'm so disturbed by it, honestly. My black son, I would not send him off with anyone. I don't trust any men, honestly, but I definitely would not send my son to go be with a group of all white people and he be the only one in a place that's secluded. That looks secluded to me. Any place where there's not a crowd of people, diverse witnesses, cameras, action. No, my child can't go. I don't know. That's concerning. And I'm sorry for both of their families. Although these were not good choices, these are cautionary tales for everyone else.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, that's true. That's something we can learn from. We need to learn from this. We need to. Let's get to Alaris. Oh, she just went off. Alaris, you got it? Oh, she might be on a call or something. Okay. And that's another thing to what Jasmine's prompt was talking about. Witnesses, right? If anything does happen, let's say it doesn't happen to you. Let's say it happens to somebody else. Somebody got to be the fall guy. You're very very easily going to be the fall guy. Let's say it's not super dangerous. Let's say they're on a boat, accidentally they crash into somebody else's boat. They damage somebody else's boat. Who was steering the wheel? Who was supposed to make sure that didn't happen? The easiest fall guy is always the black guy. It's always them. If anything comes up missing, it's way easier because the automatic suspicion is going to be directed towards them anyway. And they don't even have to point the finger. All they got to do is say, well, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. And when a black guy says it wasn't you, everybody's going to it probably was, though. That's another thing. Okay? We got to understand there's times there was some people I was working with, right? This was at Target. And it was a crowd of mixed people. Follow me. It was a crowd of mixed people. It was some black people, some FBAs. It was some Latinos, and then it was like a Polish person. It was like a couple of Polish people who are YT. Polish is YT, right? And we were in a group chat because of work, really. But we were in a group chat, and afterward, and what they wanted to do, because there was going to be a potluck thing at work, and everybody was bringing the potluck, like cookies and stuff like that, there for work. Okay, mind you, this was like 2016, right? Everybody was supposed to bring sealed food. That means that they were supposed to buy food from a store. They're not supposed to cook it. They're supposed to buy food from a store. I wasn't trying to go. I don't really like company potlucks or white people potlucks. I really don't. I don't like, because they just be throwing anything in a pot, for real. For me, they just be throwing anything in a pot, and we all like, this is French fries with some onion rings. It just be French fries, onion rings, some taco meat, and macaroni in a pot in the same thing. It's weird. This is like this homemade macaroni French fries. I'm okay. I don't know. I'm good. Okay. This is nachos with barbecue sauce. No, thank you. I'm fine. White people get real creative when it's a potluck, and I'm cool. I don't like creative stuff. Let me digress. I don't like that. I don't like creative stuff. But we was all supposed to coordinate because we wasn't supposed to bring the same thing. Okay. And then there was one I noticed. I don't know how I figured this out, but I noticed that we was all in a group chat. It was me, it was a black dude, it was a black girl, it was two black guys, and it was one black girl, and then it was another black dude, but he said he wasn't going. They put him in anyway for whatever reason. Then I found out that all of the non-black folk made a separate group chat about what they were going to bring, and they excluded all of the black people. So there was supposed to be a group chat about the event, and then they made a private group chat with no black people about the same event. And I said that, I'm all like, do y'all know they got two group chats about this? I thought we was all supposed to be in there, and no black person showed up, at least to my knowledge, because I didn't show up. I wasn't there. Okay. None of us showed up because we all like, nah, what? That's weird. That's weird. Why is there two group chats about the same thing? I thought we was all cool and friends and all that. That's weird. Why would y'all do that? You got to understand, you think you're their friend, they are friends. You the extra. The white dude is not going to talk shit about other white dudes to you. He gonna talk about you to them. That's the difference. There's a hierarchy in his mind when it comes to friends. There's levels to it. He will say a whole bunch of stuff to them about you. He ain't gonna say nothing about you to them. Okay? There's secrets that all them white T folk know that you don't know. Okay? You know. No. There's a level to it, and you're not gonna reach that level. We gotta understand that.
I piggyback off that because I can't stand when they say that they don't see color, right? And not for the obvious reasons, because it's like, well, obviously there's no purple people or green people. They like to always throw in these random colors, right? I just don't like that it's basically saying that you don't have any discernment. To me, when I hear I don't see color, it means that you can't differentiate between spectrums. And that's why a lot of them lack rhythm. It's why they can't create anything. And it's why whenever they make food, there's no seasoning. And, I know a lot of people like to think that we're joking about it. I'm not joking. I'm being dead ass from, my New York saying, but dead ass, they do not taste any differences. And that's why they eat raw meat. On top of that, too, think about the way that because they don't see color, but they can differentiate between animals and human beings. They love them they love them a dog or an animal. They love them down, by the way, too. They love them down.
Jasmine,
Okay, I'm sorry, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, we just got back, Jasmine. We just starting to get back on.
I'm sorry, I won't go there, but I will say this though: the lack of seeing colors, the lack of being able to reason is the reason why I'm concerned as an AI architect and a researcher of having all of these pale skinned people over AI because they're putting their none of reasoning, their none emotions, their lack of emotional intelligence into that system. And also They don't care about Nolan.
I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question. You know that a black man had unalived a police dog and got like 23 years. Like, so we could bring that up. How they treat their dogs better than they treat black Americans. Like when it comes to unfair sentencing and stuff like that, they get away with unaliving us. But something so much as a police dog biting them, then the black person gets football numbers when it comes time to sentence and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and I remember a
I'm
case.
gonna let you land, Jasmine. Then we're gonna get to mail.
Okay, yeah, I was going to go off on a tangent. My apologies. But no, they will actually, and there's a case, and I would have to just look it up for a second, but there's a case of a police canine being hurt. And they put more of their resources into that canine than it would ever do for us, Black Americans or any, the others too, but especially us. And I just think that that's weird. So I land.
I'm gonna be honest with you, and I like dogs to a degree. I'm not like no super dog, but I like dogs, right? But I got an issue with the whole concept, honestly, of police dogs. I get it, but then I kind of don't. I was thinking about this the other day since y'all brought up police dogs. When is the last time y'all saw a police dog that sicked on a white person? When is the last time y'all seen that? Like, it's a very, very rare thing to see them use a police dog on a YT person. It is almost always a black person that they're using the dog on.
I think they were using dogs during, like, when they were, like, what is it, slave catching too? Like, I think they were doing that
Yeah.
too. Yeah, and it's a good point that you
Yeah,
mentioned
they were
that.
using dogs to
Yeah.
hunt the slave. Let's be honest. And I'm
That's
not.
awful.
I mean, there is a use because the dog is just a dog, but they always have a racialized, oppressive use for the dog, and historically, it's always been on black folk. I'm talking about from the time of slavery to the time of the civil rights movement to today.
And I
You
don't
don't
think
really
it's I
see them
don't
using
think
dogs
it,
for no other reason, for real.
and I think it's by design too. You notice how like they intentionally say, well, humans can take care of themselves, dogs. It's just weird how they like. Yeah, I think that's by design too. Just how they, put now dogs are in this hierarchy, right? Now they have a hierarchy now, right, in America. And I remember so I remember I came across this like this quote from this crazy YT man. He was like I guess he was going through a divorce and he was upset. And I was just reading about it, and he was just saying like America's the best place for women, dogs, and it was something else. And I don't know why they're always stuck with me because I'm just like, why did he say dogs? And now I see this, right? Like you see this, like yeah, it's like I feel like that was definitely by design with how they treat dogs.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at it from a DNA point. I mean, just back to Neanderthal and just from a DNA standpoint, it's like they're more close to animalistic things. And it's one question I always ask
We
YT
gotta hold on.
people.
Let's be careful. We on
Yes.
TikTok because that's
Oh,
on.
I
We get us
apologize.
shut down. So
Yeah. I always ask them this question. If you don't see color, what do you see when you close your eyes? And every last one of them responded to me and said, that's not fair.
of course they see color. They always do. Okay. Let's get to mail. Mail.
Hey everybody.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Good evening. Good evening, BX. I'm going to be very short today. This is just very sad to me, honestly. When I see that photo, it just grieves my spirit to see something like this happen to a young black man. Personally, I spent several years in Mississippi, right around his age. I was in that state, and I have cousins right around his age, that went to Mississippi State, Ole Miss. I mean, I have a cousin who looks exactly like him, an aunt that looks just like his mother. I have an aunt that looks just like his mother. I have a cousin who looks just like him. I don't know whether his mother is biracial or not, but, from what she, if I were to just pull from the photo, wide nose, full lips, light skin, she looks just like my family members. This is just so egregious what happened to this young man, and I just kind of want to shout out the fact that his family took to social media and did not let up. We have seen some egregious things, unfortunately, happen throughout Mississippi where they can't even get people to do any form of investigation whatsoever out there. Clearly, foul play goes on, and they can't get. So the fact that this young man's body was found, they're saying she's Asian, but I don't know her
They
heritage.
saying she might be
I don't know
mixed
her
because I
heritage.
just Googled it and they said
I
Google
don't
says
know.
she's African American, so she
I don't
might
know
be
her heritage.
biracial probably,
I don't know her
but we
heritage
don't know.
also. So
But
I'm not going to speak on her heritage. I just will say she looks identical to my family members who live out there. But again, I don't know her heritage family, so I'm not trying to state anything there. But what I will say is the fact that this young man was found, I am so thankful, because when you have a child that you don't know where this child is, and this goes on for years, that is egregious not only to the family but the whole community. So the fact that he's been found in such a short time, but secondly, I think, unfortunately, we we did this civil rights movement and we moved out of our communities, y'all, and we decided to pull up shop among these other individuals. We left our communities and told our children, go to college, get a good job, and we saturated ourselves in a diverse space. This is what we did as a people. And so, as someone who's lived out there, who's done sports, this young man was in sports. These could be people from one of his sports teams that they decided to do a celebration. It could have been 2 or 3 other boats that were going on out there. And a lot of times, as somebody who's lived out there, you might be the only person on the team. You might, you know what I'm saying? You might be the only person in that particular group. And even if you wanted other people to be around, and I'm not saying he didn't make a choice to socialize on the water, but I'm just saying, as a child who has lived out there in these spaces, I was in circles and in groups where I was the only one all the time. You see what I'm saying? All the time. And so his mother likely knew these boys and knew their parents. And I think the unfortunate thing that happens sometimes, not all the time, I don't believe in rules applying all the time, but there's a difference between friendly acquaintance and community. Your community will ride for you even if they don't know you. They'll ride for you. Like, hold on, where are you taking that black child? That something seems off, right? Your community will ride for you. But if you are a black person and you go into a new space, which is what he's doing, if you go into a new space, things that seem standard, especially when you get into spaces out in the South, I've got into spaces like this out in Illinois. There's some towns out in Illinois that I've run into that are like this as well, where little things that you think are standard are no longer standard. I'm just going to list out a few things that I've noticed that people think are standard that's not always standard in new spaces. Number one, dating and courting people of another race. You might think that that's standard where you are, but you go into a new space and you pull up and you think you're hooking up. Everybody is not going to be cool with that. Number two, having a lot of money. If you go into a new space and you take dad's American Express Gold, American Express Black Card, you start pulling it out, you can buy anything that you want. That's not okay for everybody. Even if you don't bring the card and you bring cash, which has happened to me in a white town that I did not want to stop at. I did not want to stop at. Just using the cash and not using the express cards, and people seeing that you have any form of real money. That is also a basic standard that does not go well. Being funny and comedic in the life of the party and being able to dance and getting a lot of attention. You might think that that's standard, but in some of these spaces, not all, a lot of stuff really can pop off. Just being intellectual and a lot of people seeing you, because, when you're on these islands and you're partying, a lot of people can, if you're the life of the party and you're very smart, that's standard. But in some spaces, people, I have seen personally, as somebody who's lived in Mississippi and some of these towns out in Illinois, people get so bothered. And so even if these friendly acquaintances you are with would not engage the behavior. If those people who are there are bothered, they may see those people more of a community than they see you, unfortunately. So I just want to honor the family that they actually found the body, and hopefully they can have some sort of peace. Mississippi is notorious for this madness. Literally, there's 200 bodies that were found behind the sheriff's office at the local jail, bodies that they just decided, you know what, we're just going to bury the bodies back here. So knowing how egregious it can be out there, the fact that this young man was found in a few days, I'm just so thankful that at least they can lay him to rest.
Yeah, at least that peace of mind. I'm glad they have that, if anything. Now, there's something in the comments. Some people saying in the comments, could he swim? They're asking that. I don't know if he could swim. If he's an athlete and on a boat, I would assume he knows some basics. But I want us to understand this because a lot of people come to Chicago, and this is something too. They come to Chicago, they play in Lake Michigan, and they wind up drowning. All right? We have to understand swimming in a pool is a very different thing than swimming in a large body of water like a lake. That is a very, very different thing. It's almost not the same at all. Okay. I'm going to tell you from my experience, because I almost had a situation in Lake Michigan where I was at the beach and I went a little bit too far. Okay. There's at a pool, the water is the same. Okay. Whether you on the high end, or where it's like what 3 feet, or when you kind of deep in the pool, the water is the same. In a lake, the water is not the same. The water changes. Okay. The water gets mysteriously way colder when you're in a certain part of the water. Your body starts to freeze up. The tide is way stronger than what you can handle. Okay. You might be able to swim in a pool. You cannot swim deep in some water. Okay. Where the tide is pulling you left and right and in different directions. You can't really get your, balance together. You can't float. You can't get your balance together. There's something that's pulling you in a different direction. You can't swim against it. You can't really swim for it. It's very bad. The temperature is very uncomfortable. All right. On top of the fact that more than likely they were probably drinking. I know he was 18 or whatever, but they on a boat. You know how them folk like to do. They start drinking real early at 17, 18 years old. They probably got a cooler full of beers, more than likely, and they were probably drinking a little bit. Let's be very honest about that. Though in their community, they start at like 16, 17 years old with some beers. They start that early. All right. So more than likely it was that too. I need everybody to understand being on the lake is something dangerous, y'all. It really is.
I'll say this really quickly, only because I don't care this much about this part. He's half FBA at least. But no, this is a Vietnamese woman, and I didn't want to make my commentary about that. But this is his mom. She's Vietnamese. This is her. And you guys know my man lives in that area. This is his mom, Christine, Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, Pacific Islander. She's Vietnamese. They have darker skin tones, whatever. But that's besides the point, other than the point where this wouldn't happen if he had a black mom. So I just wanted to show that. And if you're not sure about that, there he is with his mom, the same woman. She's Vietnamese, just dark skinned. I land.
All right. Okay.
May I just say, my heart goes out to her, and it really doesn't matter what color the mom is. We know when we see him, you see a black boy, and we know when they saw him, they saw a black boy. And I think that's the point that we need to actually stay focused on, because I don't care where his mother came from. The reality is that when white America sees him, they see a black boy, and none of our children are safe. When we talk about FBA, it is important. When we talk about Black American, it is important. But when they see their children and they see our children, there's no respect of life. There's no respect for their lives. And as it has already been pointed out, a police dog because it has the title of police. A man is serving real time. And these people do love their animals more than human beings. And I wanted to share the fact that I once upon a time thought that I could have white female friends only because of my life experiences. I can have white female acquaintances, but they will never be my friend. They do not carry in them the fight that we carry in us. They are fair weather friends, which are not friends at all, even if they're cordial, even if they're helpful, even if they're nice. Unless they're one of those tried true allies, they are not ever going to risk their comfortability for your welfare. And that's the real issue for all of us, is to be cautious, because the danger is always, always, always there. The moment you really need them, the likelihood that they will stand up for you is so, so small. And that is not to attack people who have done the homework, stand up, gone to the march, and those who have given their lives. But your average Becky, no, she will not. She won't risk the discomfort of a conversation, even if it costs her nothing, to
Yep.
protect you or your children. But let them find a dog.
Let's get to Fro and then Mary. Fro. Okay, Fro's not ready, so let's get to Mary.
Can I interject for 1 minute? 1 quick minute, Mary.
Oh, my bad, brother. I
So,
didn't even know I was up here, man. My
Oh,
bad.
you cool, you cool. It happens.
do you
BX.
want to contribute anyway to the conversation, Fro?
I like what y'all talking about. Keep it going. You can drop me.
Okay, thank you. So when a teen is non-Black American but may be melanated, and they're around a bunch of white tea folks, what does that conversation look like? Does anybody know? Because I think that when we talk about who gives the N-word pass, wouldn't somebody, let's take an African, a Nigerian, you know, man, I ain't Black, I ain't an N-word. I'm, like, do they feed into it with these white tea folks?
I never did.
Huh? But you
I
Black
never
American,
did.
right?
I went to school with pretty much all white tea people, and I never entertained that. In fact, I said offensive things to them at points that they pointed out to me.
Right.
So
But the question was, what would like somebody like a Nigerian say? The people who come up here and be like, "You're nothing but a slave baby." Like, who gives the N-word pass to their white tea friends and stuff? That's what I was wondering. What would the conversation look like between a non-Black American who is melanated, right? Could be
Mhm.
perceived racially as Black when they're around their all white tea friends. Because the stuff they say to us on these apps, I'm pretty sure they say to the white tea people, like, don't put me in that category with them. That's their crime. Black on Black crime don't mean us. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's all I wanted to interject.
yeah,
More than likely, they give it a pass. More
I've
than likely.
personally seen them try to delineate. Like I've seen them say like particularly like I'm
Yeah, me
like
too.
pointing that out.
So I'm gonna
Yeah,
say this, and
around
then Mary could
Caucasians.
go. So
Yeah.
there's an Afro Latino. He said that he used to live in New York. Now he's in Florida. He went to, there was response videos made. He went to talking about in a funeral home for Foundation Black Americans, this and that. And as respect King as a dropping screenshots of the Showers posse and the damage they did here in the U. Wondering if the Afro Latino was actually a white team man, what would that conversation look like? Because they threw us under the bus with the Afro Latino. So we got to remember that too. If he's not, for any reason, because I don't even know where his melanated parent is, if they're of the lineage, but what would his conversations have looked like with them?
You know,
That's
I
something to
think
think
that's a
about too,
fair
y'all.
question. But he was young, and then you have peer pressure, and you have, as the other lady pointed out, these people in different environments is different. You have a handful of us, and even be American, because if they were handicapped, they were in our group. If they were from another country, too, it's like 5, 6 kids that weren't white get waiting in the auditorium for the bus. So your experiences in those environments and navigating your way through
Can
is
I stop
very
you? Because
different. But even
I went to
we
a
didn't, we couldn't go
predominantly
stay
all
with them.
white tea Catholic high school. I was called the N word, chased the white tea girl up the block. And when we sat in the principal's office, the principal said that she was justified or she wouldn't get in trouble because I called her a white tea bitch, B word after she called me the N word. So I'm perfectly
Yep,
aware of what it's like to, and I
Yes,
have
that's what they
kinky
do.
coily here. I'm heavily melanated too. And so, but you still have to stand on your square. And so I was a conscious rapper. So I was rapping about Africa and stuff. I didn't care what them white tea folks were saying, but I get your experience, even and what you're trying to say, but hear what I'm trying to say too. Even Black Americans can stand on business in all white tea spaces.
but
We don't
white
have to use
Americans
that
do.
excuse.
Okay, well,
Right. But I'm
here's
wondering what,
here's something
yeah.
that I would warn us against though. When we have these conversations, I warn us against dismissing the severity of the situation because we feel like, well, a black American wouldn't do that. That's an immigrant, so that's just an immigrant problem. No, we do know black Americans who do stuff like this. And even if these people are 100% not FBA, there are FBAs who face the same fate and the same severity. So the principle of the conversation is around the parents and their awareness. If we develop the habit of dismissing issues that we feel like don't apply to us because we're Black American and we always make the smart decision, then we're missing an opportunity to educate people on preventing a problem.
I
Because
get you. I get
you
you.
know what I'm
I
saying,
just wanted
this,
to know what
you
was
know,
the conversation was.
we do know some people who they move to a quote unquote Caucasian neighborhood. Next thing you know, they fully patriot. They don't see race, they don't see color, they don't see. Look at how many people came out the woodwork against Carmela who are a part of our lineage. Like,
Correction,
we can't
really
act like that don't
quickly.
happen though.
My apologies. I want to make a correction. I was just told Vietnamese because of the skin tone from people in that area, but she's 100% Filipino based off of her own words.
Yeah.
In the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month spotlight that they gave her. And again, this isn't the biggest thing for me, whether she's half Filipino and FBA, his dad is FBA. So that's what I care about. I just
She
wanted to say
has
that.
Filipino words written in her bio, so she's definitely Filipino. I don't know if she's half Filipino, but she's definitely Filipino.
I got a question. Are
Hold
the
on, let's let Mary go because Mary hasn't went yet, and then we can start wrapping things up.
Yeah, so I was coming up. You were mentioning the thing about the, potentially that he was potentially drinking alcohol. So I don't know if you guys have seen. There's a video they're circulating right now of this young. It looks like he could be probably an Afro Latino. And he was particularly saying that I'm very familiar with that group of people, and they are into very illicit, like booger sugar type situation things. And he was implying that, they were there doing those things. And so it could be a
Mm-hmm.
situation where this young man, might have been pressured, forced, or anything that involved that. So basically something like that could have happened, and the whole cover up is based on what resulted from, you know, whatever they were doing.
Mm-hmm. It could have been.
Yeah,
It could have been that.
I'm gonna forward the video to you. It was they were like interviewing on it looks like it could be TikTok, somebody he went to school with. And so that kind of honestly does sound like something that definitely could happen, and that would explain why nobody wants to talk. That would explain a lot. Could be.
That's true. That's very true. And yeah, that's a good point. If you can send that to me, I'd appreciate that.
Sure.
We got FBA Big Boy who's attempting to come up. But this is another thing we need to make an issue about too, because we know for a fact if the races were reversed and it was a YT victim and the only YT person is not alive, all of them would be in custody. All of them. Everybody around would be questioned. All of them would be in custody. The parents wouldn't be able to bail them out. They'd be suspects and all of that. We would know all of their names. Let me ask y'all a question. Do y'all know any of the names of the YT people in either of these pictures? Y'all know the names of the victims, but do y'all know the names of their very close best friends?
No.
No. Is there an independent investigation on what is their names? What is their background? What is this? If they were black, if the friends were black and the victim was YT, you would find they would be digging up all of the dirt on the friends. You know, he was suspended for drinking, and he bought some he bought some substance. I don't want to say that word. He bought substance in school, and you know he stole 2 Snickers bars from a Walmart in 2018. They would have all the long rap sheet. Okay, Mary Jane, that's another one. Yeah, Mary Jane, thank you. Okay, with them, they don't say anything. You don't know nothing about these kids. These kids could have psychological issues, anger management problems, abusive homes. You don't know nothing. You don't know nothing about the YT folk. Okay? They're framing this as a there's not even, and I want y'all to understand, there's people all, we shouldn't trust the government. The news is always lying. The news is always lying. Okay. Well, when it's a black victim, y'all don't ever say the news is always lying. The media is always lying. Y'all don't ever suspect them of lying or misleading y'all. When the victim is black, all of them simultaneously believe what the news and the main publication is saying. All of them. None of them starts questioning it. None of them is like, yeah, that don't really make a lot of sense. And it's so tragic, so sad. They all get the benefit of the doubt. We got to understand too, let's be a little bit conspiratorial. Little bit. Some of these people have, hypothetically, some of these people want to get in certain type of societies and sororities and different, and this is their culture. Historically, they've had to make sacrifices and stuff like that. It's, come on, it sounds like a plot to a horror movie where you take a friend out in the middle of the water to make a sacrifice to prove that you can be loyal into the gang. You can be loyal into the group. They do that. Go on YouTube and look that up. They will do that because before you get to join our group, our gang, our organization, we need to know you in it for real. You gotta catch a body before we let you up in here. A lot of them do that because we need some dirt on you just in case this goes wrong. So catch a body and then we'll let you in. That way, if you attempt to jump bad, we got a body on you. A lot of them do that. Okay?
It's almost as being
We can't put that past any of them.
it's almost as being initiated into a gang. If you ever
Yeah.
if you ever live that lifestyle or know anything about that, you can't become a part of that gang or that crew unless you meet certain. It's almost as if you're applying for a job. Certain
Yeah.
criterias, certain how do I want to say this? It's certain standards and guidelines you got to meet to even get to level 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And a lot of that is their history too, though. Like those, gangs and stuff that kind of started with them, and they brought that over here to us since and also I wanted to say too, I wanted like for the, because I really feel like Gen Zs and such, I feel like they need to be in this and listening to this more than anybody, because I'm a millennial, I'm in my early 30s, and I was raised to know these things too, and I don't think they are raised that way. But one thing I want to let them know is like, I think they think like, oh well, as long as I'm an excellent swimmer and I don't get drunk, I can still hang out with them and just be on, be on alert. And it's like, no, it's deeper than that. Like, it doesn't matter if you are, what is it, respectability politics. Like, it doesn't matter how well off you are. You just have to be, I just wouldn't recommend it, like going into places like that by yourself, especially in those isolated areas where they can kind of get off with saying anything.
I'm
No,
a millennial too, and I have a 21-year-old. She'll be 21-year-old in like 3 weeks, and I have an 8-year-old too. Big age gap. There is no reality where I don't tell her to not trust these cave beasts. Like, and you know who I learned that from? My family, my grandparents. I'm from Cali. My family's from South Central, Northern Cali, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and that was something that they always instilled in me. Do not trust these people, because when you're isolated with them, they're always going to act accordingly because of their lack of melanin. So, but I hear what you're saying, Miss Honey. But we do have to start holding our own family members, and even us as being in this community together. Just start looking out for each other. I'm telling you. Yeah, my 21-year-old knows that.
I agree, because I want to say my mom, she's a Gen Xer. She was saying how like they had, this was all intentional to the government. Like they had programs where they had things like that. My mom lived in the projects. They had stuff like that. They had swimming classes. They would come and pick them up and take them around the town and take them to swimming, the pool and everything. They'll take them to all these different programs and these events around their peers, the people in the community. And now all that is gone. Like it was all taken out of our communities. And now our kids have to go out to these schools further out around them to experience that. Like there was boxing, there was swim lessons, there were piano, things of that. Like they had all that and it was free to our kids, and they took that away. Maybe we need to work on bringing those opportunities to our or our kids. I'm sorry. I worked in education too. So I kind of say students too, but maybe we as a community need to try to start to bring that back to our community, so that way they don't have to go and search these things. Because like I mentioned, I was in 5th grade when I was around and I had my first experience, and if I have kids, I'm not sending my kids to those schools. I'm sorry. I understand they say some of our schools are not safe and you have to worry about other gangs and everything. I would have to try to find a medium. I'm sorry. I just can't. I wouldn't want them to go through that. And it's not, to me, it's not worth it. It's not worth.
Miss Honey, you're saying some triggering things to me a little bit. No, because I hear this, and I'm not trying to come at you or anything like that. Let me just preface that. But we have a lot of people who go on autopilot. Sometimes I go on autopilot too, but not in that reality. 80% of our people are not in the inner city. Like that is not the 2026 reality right now, that we're all living in a boys in the hood moment. That's just not real life, right? And it wasn't real life when I was growing up either. I've been in all black schools, I've been in all white schools, mixed schools, everywhere in between. And I never had the urge to go around and be around all white tea people. So that's an upbringing thing, and maybe something that's specific to those people who are in those areas. But also, we're not all in the inner city. So we got to stop saying that. We're not all living that reality.
No, I don't agree with that. No, I'm saying that's what some parents say. Like they'll say, oh, well, I have to worry about my kids with gang violence. And I don't agree with that either. I don't think all of our community is in those environments. I don't know why they say that. That's just what I hear. And they excuse that as the reason why they send their kids out to those schools. Um, so I was just I was just addressing what they say when they say that. Like, well,
Well,
yeah.
don't address what they say. You know your actual truth, right? And that's why I said it's like a loop of listening to people who don't actually experience what we've been through. Talk about what you've experienced, because I didn't experience that. Even in the all white schools that I went to, I would find the other black person and we would always click up. Never in my mind did I feel the urge to go and have a bunch of white friends and have a sleepover with them. That was the only point that I was trying to make. So don't talk about what you haven't experienced because they said it. These people are fleeing. They fled from Europe too.
Mm. Let me add, as we wrapping things up, let me add this, right? I want to add this. Follow me. Nolan at the bottom. Even the girl at the top. Tamla. If they were the children of the mayor in that city, do you think that would have happened to them? Do you
Heck
think
no.
them do you think them white T folks would have did that if that was the child of the mayor, the child of a governor or something like that? No, they would have found somebody else. I want y'all to follow me. They pick people who they feel like are weak targets. They're not trying to pick nobody who's papered up like that. They're not trying to pick nobody whose resources go deep like that. They're not trying to pick nobody who they feel like it would be difficult to get away with. That's the thing. Okay. One of the things my parents did is by my parents knowing the other parent and setting up boundaries. This would happen anytime I went to a core school, anything like that. My parents would let it be abundantly clear that I'm not just going to drop my kids off here. There's going to be micromanagement and supervision by me, okay, and oversight. So that means anything happens, you're going to have to deal with the parents, whoever the parents are connected to, all of that. We cannot allow these people to even assume that if anything happens to our children, then it's going to be, oh, okay, well, we'll leave it up to the police. No, this is not going to be left up to the police. If we had children who are treated like royalty, and if anything happens to this royal prince, this royal princess, you're going to have to deal with all hell. All hell is going to break loose if anything happens to them. If we had that type of protection or that perception, that aura around them, they wouldn't touch these kids. They mess with these kids because they feel like there's not going to be much consequence. Yeah, the police might question me here or there. I'm going to say I don't know, and that's going to be the end of it. It's our responsibility to let them know you don't only have to worry about the police. If anything happens to our children, the police might question you, but your problems don't stop at the police. Once that is made abundantly clear, they're going to try somebody else. Okay. If they feel like they can get away with it, they're going to do it. If they feel like, this might be a hard one to get away with, they're going to find somebody else to play with. Your problems do not, and we got to let it be abundantly clear, your problems do not stop at the police questioning you and giving you a slap on the wrist, telling you to go home. Your problems don't stop like that. Your family's problems are going to start. You are going to create generational issues for your family if anything happens to my family. All right? That happens. I promise you, they're going to stop because these people are naturally cowards. Naturally, these people don't want conflict. These people are trying to get away with stuff, and they know there's a system that allows them to do it. We have to create the counter system that doesn't allow them to do that. All right. You don't, oh, well, my uncle is the local sheriff, so wink, wink, we got away. I don't care about your uncle being the local sheriff. I don't care about that. Your uncle is the least of your problems. If you deal with me in mind, that's going to be the least of your problems. That's going to be the least of your problems, your uncle's problems, your daddy problem, your mama problems. It's going to be something. We on TikTok, so I ain't going to say what it is, but it's going to be something. You're going to deal with generational problems. I promise you it's not going to be worth it at the end of the day. I promise you that. And it might not even be me. But I promise you it's not going to be worth it. Put some fear in their friends. You know how the dads do when the son pick up his girlfriend for prom, and the dads do, oh, let me walk with you, young man. Let me talk to you. And he put his hand on his shoulder, a little bit stern, kind of put that pressure on him, like, if anything happened to my daughter, I'm coming for you, son. I'm just letting you know. I mean, I want y'all to have a good time, but I want you to know that's my little girl. Now, if anything happened to him, he's like, yes, sir, we're going to be back at 11. Yeah, put a little bit of fear in him. Okay. Yeah, let him be known. Yeah, okay. If she don't come back safe and sound, you have a problem. Yeah, that's what parents, y'all need to be like that with the friends too. Okay, Brad. If Connor if Tyrone come home with a headache, you gonna have a headache. They gonna wind up being bodyguards the way you put fear in them if you do that right. But you wouldn't even have to if they weren't hanging around those people in the first place. I'm just saying. You should do that with everybody, but I'm just saying you wouldn't even really have to go that far if they weren't kicking it with them like that in the first place. All right. Let's get to Mo Correct, then you, and then we're gonna get to Omega. Then we're gonna wrap things up.
Peace. It's just Mo. I
Mo.
agree with everything with Jasmine. Military brat from California. People, so you sound YT and all this, whatever. But I never looked and took out any other people except for mine. My people. I didn't feel comfortable. And this is the time in where we have eyes on everything. We have the cameras everywhere. And we have to be honest, YT people and BLK people do not live in proximity to each other. We may live or work, we may work or do something out in the community, but it is shown and it's televised that we don't live amongst each other. We don't really rub elbows unless there's people who are married and intermarried. When it comes to only black friend right here, this is very dangerous. And I think a lot of us have been taught this. We've been taught this. It's cellular, it's ancestral. We know, we've seen the stories, we've seen what happens. We have all seen it. It's documented of what's going on. Even with this lady right here, I'm like, well, I don't know where she's from because that could never have happened to me. I wouldn't even be in that situation. I'm not blaming the victim, but I don't know what's going on. Even to the point where, because of our perspective as and our eyes and lenses in our history, the reason why we felt like how we felt with Carmelo, he had that in his genes. He had that in his cells, to protect himself. This is a dangerous thing, and these people, they're so worried about our community. They're always talking about per capita and the crime rate, and they ignore this right here. There's something that needs to be said. If you can say that BOK people have ancestral trauma that comes through your genes and your DNA, we can say that they have ancestral bloodlust. There's something going on where they get happy and excited about harming people. This is dangerous. When you live in a community that is not of yourself and your people, y'all need to protect your children and get them involved in other things, because they want friends. Kids want friends. Kids want community. Kids want to be accepted. Kids want to play with other kids. And you have to teach them the dangers of it. And it's sad, but you just do. And I just wanted to say, we have to teach our children this. If you're not living in your community, teach your children what is safe, what is not safe. Be able to tell and don't feel afraid to tell, because this is dangerous behavior. This is very dangerous. Everybody saw that. I don't know if y'all all did see that boy on TikTok. I don't know what it was, but he was at the lake and he was yelling and they was calling him the monkey, and he was saying I can't swim, and then that white sea couple came up on him on the paddleboard and they were like, okay, are you okay? Come to us, we'll help you. And they were like, what kind of friends are that? What kind of friends does he have? Them boys was gonna do something to him. So we have to pay attention, y'all. um, you want to do good, you want to move up, and we gotta, we moving on up, like the Jeffersons, you moving out. But be careful with your children because they are getting AB'd in these societies by teachers, by everybody, even the children, and they learn that. And that's what I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Peace.
We're gonna get to Omega and Bria, but I want to make a point to what you said. These people, it's like they test their victim before. All right, follow me, and stay with me. These people, watch this is not the first time they hung out. I'm pretty sure these people down here, they hung out several times and there was never a problem, never an incident, never anything. They will hang out with you just long enough for you to feel completely comfortable. You are completely relaxed. This is not their first or second time. They probably hung out several times. They might have been friends for years before anything like that pops off. They will have you be completely comfortable, completely relaxed, all of that. You can trust them with your life. All right. They will wear you, they will make it seem like, hey man, I don't have a racist bone in my body. I like you so, you're my best bud. You're my best pal, man. They will wear you down. And that will cause you as the black person, or them, because it's not you guys, but them, that will have them have a false sense of security. Then they'll feel like, what do you mean I'm in danger? This isn't my first time on a boat. This isn't my first time with Brad. This isn't my first time with Hunter. What are you talking about? This, you okay, all that racism, these are good guys. I'm telling you guys. It will start off with y'all just kicking it after school or after work, and then y'all, oh, you want to come over? We're having a thing. It will be like that. They will be friends with y'all for a long time, or them for a long time, kicking it with them, no problem. And then next thing you know, when they know you fully comfortable, you would never suspect them of anything. Okay, you got blindfolds on when you're around them. That's how comfortable you are. Then that's when it happens. Okay.
Can I say something real quick to that? I'm glad you said this. I have my son. He's 20 years old, but I'm gonna tell you guys this, and this is real. When my son was about 14 or 15, my son was like, "Mom, I'm just sick of this mess, man. You just talking about racism and stuff." They don't see it because this is not. He kept telling me, "This ain't 1930s. This ain't 1950s." They don't get it, and they don't understand what I'm talking about. And because I have to protect my child because he's a boy, I had to really, really keep talking to him about it. I'm like, you are a big 6'2" boy who looks like a grown man. He looked just like you, host, big, a 14-year-old. And I said, and if something happens to you, they're going to act like you're 23 years old. And he was like, Mom, I'm just sick of this. So I'm telling you, it's 2026. Our kids don't see it like we know it is, because it's not the same as what Emmett Till. You get what I'm saying? It's not the same. So we have to really, really talk to our children because they don't understand it or see the covert acism that is going on. And I was very fearful for him because he was not getting it. He got it now. He got it. But I'm just saying, we have to talk to our children, because I could see that boy right there in this picture on the bottom. He probably said the same thing. He did not see it. He did not understand it. He didn't know what I was talking about. He thought I was just being old and starting crap. And you get what I'm saying? Because my son, I'm in my early 40s, and he act like I was a 70-year-old woman or something. They always just don't get it. They don't get it. So y'all have to really get to that mental with them. And I'm glad you said that, Afro.
Yeah,
I land.
yeah. You got to start off because once they get hooked in, then next thing you know, they defending their friends, they riding for their friends and all that. Okay, you don't want it to get to too late, and then they find out the hard way. So that's a good point. Let's get to Omega.
B1 man, peace to the panel, peace to the chat.
B1.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing about this whole situation is it kind of opens up a bigger discussion of dating practices that people, have been doing in terms of relationships for a long time in our society. Because when you have a person of another culture, and I heard Tariq talk about this, but he was absolutely right. Like, you have a woman, speaking of the young man at the bottom, you have a woman that raised him that is of a completely different culture. And the goal of most Asian cultures when they come to America is to assimilate. They're not really trying to teach their children about the dangers of the system that we live in. And you can, like you guys were saying, like, he probably got comfortable. This is Hunter. This is my homeboy. We've been rocking for X amount of years. He never hurt me. And then something like this happens. You like really gotta, if you have a black child, whether you're of a different race or whatever, you really have to teach your child about the dangers of YT supremacy. Because far too often you have people who dream of assimilation and then they go out there and they leave their children disarmed because they're not teaching them that these people will prey on your children. Like you were speaking earlier about them looking for weak targets and soft targets. That's exactly what they do. And it's a fear campaign. Not only that, these people get elation from harming us. And they are going to take soft targets, people who have instilled trust in them, and betray them. Like Professor Truth says, in YT society, YT supremacist society, nothing is a better joke than one that takes a long time to hit the punchline. And I land my plane, man.
That's true. That's true. They'll be sitting up there talking about it for a long time, plotting on it for a very long time. Okay? They'll do that. And you don't know anything. You think they're your friends. The only person who's ignorant in the room would be you in that situation. It's unfortunate, and we're not trying to beat them up. We're not trying to victim blame. We're trying to have a learning lesson here. Okay? We really are. That is a good point. All right? Especially when it comes from the mother. Because I don't like to do this thing, because there's a thing where, like, well, if the mom is black, then the kid's going to be on code, but if the mom is not black, the kid's not going to be on code. 9 times out of 10, if the kid is mixed race by either of the parents, this is going to be an issue. Let's be honest. Let's be very honest. If one of the black parents is having a baby with a non-black person, that black person is not going to be no Black Panther. Let's be very honest, okay? It don't matter if the mom is black, if the mom's not black, or whatever the case is, it's going to be some issue. That being said, the mother in the family is going to be the child's first teacher. That can't be ignored, okay? It can't be. So, up until 7, 8 years old, pretty much, outside maybe preschool or kindergarten, pretty much the main person that kid is going to be seeing is going to be his mother. All right. It's very important that the brothers out here choose very wisely, because Once the kid is about 12, 13 years old, then the kid starts to separate. Around that time, kids naturally start to separate from their parents a little bit, branch off a little bit. But the core is already solidified enough, or should be solidified enough. Of course, they're still raising. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to unravel all their primitive years and then try to reprogram something else. All right, you know what I'm saying? Their primitive years needs to be cultivated. It needs to be taught very properly. All right, you don't want to have to. Well, she was off cold. She trusted YT folk. Whoop the bam, right? And now you got to go and reverse all of what she taught, and she's still teaching. So now you got this back. You don't want to have that. To the brothers out there, you don't want to have that. The mom's trying to teach one principle, the dad's trying to teach another principle, and y'all clashing back and forth, and there's this tug of war between the kids. Y'all don't want that. Okay? Whether y'all together or not, y'all don't want that. Y'all want, whether y'all together or not, to at least have the same principles being instilled in the kid from day one. You know what I'm saying? And it's a very low chance that that's going to happen if the mother is outside of the community. Okay?
I want to give you a little bit of pushback, and I feel like this is probably one time that I'm going to say this because I'm very coherent, right? So
Okay.
thinking Tuesday, whatever. Definitely not super lit, but it gives me a sense of like going back to our traditions and our values, right? Mm-hmm. When it comes to our men being desired by multiple women from different races, ethnicities, for a variety of reasons, right? Black women just happen to be, FBA women specifically, B1, are very ethnicity loyal. And because of that, our dedication to continuing on our community and not watering it down, which I think that most of us can agree with, right? That loyalty that we have to that is definitely a different reality when it comes to having a Black mom or a bi-ethnic or a biracial mom, when the dad is for everybody specifically. And the dad also doesn't actually teach anything because they're outside, if they're being real dads, bringing back that bread, right? So your first teacher is your freaking mom. So if your mom is Vietnamese, Bulgarian, Puerto Rican, Congolese, your kids are going to have that confusion because of your, not you, but the non-race loyalty that comes from the men that are programmed to just spread their seed, right? So I think that's a little bit disingenuous to say that there's not a difference between having a Black mom and coming out of a Black, womb, as opposed to a Vietnamese mom. And that's why, unfortunately, that kid would have, he's there because he didn't have an actual Black mom. That woman was a freaking Filipino. And that's why it happened to him, to be honest. And I land there.
Okay. Well, I wasn't saying that there wasn't a difference. I'm not saying that there's not a difference. I'm saying that I need people to understand, just because your mom is Black doesn't mean there's not going to be a problem. Because if the Black mom is getting impregnated by a non-Black man, I'm not going to assume that she's Ashada Shakur. She's not no Frances Cress Welsing now.
Afro, can I say something to that, though?
I think, though, I'm just laying right there. I think, though, to your point, at which I do acknowledge that, the mom is the first teacher, though. And Black women do have a lower rate of, being outside of the community, stepping out, having babies outside of the community. So, yeah, of course, I acknowledge that. I do think there is difference, though. I think there is difference because, of course, the mom is probably going to be, if the mom is the first teacher, then she has family and stuff like that. So it's better in that case. However, there are more than likely still going to be some issues that arise too. let's get to Bria though. But I get you. I agree actually though. But I you know I think we
I'm
should
just
be
very
careful with the way.
passionate, but I try to not do the us going at each other type thing with any of our lineage, but we do have to start kind of pointing out these things, right, that don't really make sense. We know for a fact that the mom is the first teacher.
Mm-hmm.
We were the first teacher, and not only that, the first nurturer of even these white people that came over here because they couldn't actually produce milk to nurse their own babies. So I just want to land there.
Yeah, we do.
Respect the black mom.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, ma'am.
However, though, I'm not disagreeing. I don't think maybe what I said was fully like understood. You like get where I was coming from because I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing. I don't think we should go with the narrative though that as long as the mom is black, then the kid is fine. Because I
Exactly.
still think that
Hello.
there's warning signs if one of the parents are not black, we're not going to sit up there and act like just because the mom is the first teacher, the father has no influence over the kid. So we can't do that either. You know, the mom might be the primary influence at a young age or the primitive age, but we're not going to act like the dad has absolutely no influence and the kid doesn't is not going to grow up with any type of outside of the community influence. We can't do that either. So we have to understand that we got to be careful with anybody who
Afro,
has
can I give
children.
some pushback to that, please?
I
Pushback.
actually
Okay.
need
And then
to.
can I
Okay.
go?
Hold on. Let's get to Bria first. Let's get to Bria because
Okay,
Okay.
go
Bria has.
ahead, Bria.
Thank you.
I'm
Thanks
sorry.
for
I
it's okay.
apologize.
Thanks for letting me on the panel, Afro. I did want to say this because it is pertinent to the whole token black friend conversation. My sister and I, my younger sister and I, we went to predominantly white schools growing up. But my sister told me this the other day, and I had no clue. What she said was in her friend group, because it was, majority white because of the teams that she played on, but she always had a black friend. I won't give her name, but they had a token system going on that they didn't know about until they got to college. But this is what she told me. She said anytime that they were getting invited to a function, a party, bonfire, or whatever, they would agree on which black girl they would invite. So it would be my sister at one function, and then it would be her black friend at another function. And they would switch off. They would do this for years. These are white kids that YT kids that they grew up with for years, play sports with for years. And until they got to college and they started, reminiscing about high school and middle school and elementary school, they're like, wait, I was at that party. Why weren't you there? Oh, I wasn't invited. So this is how they found out that they would, have this switch off. I call it a token system, but I just want people to know that for those that are going to these predominantly white schools, YT schools, please tell your kids what's up, because a lot of the time people take pride in being this token for whatever reason. I think it's weird. It always made me uncomfortable. I personally, even though I went to a predominantly white school, I made sure that I had black friends. Even if I was the only black person on my team, there's somebody black at that school that I'm going to hang out with eventually. So just for those that think, oh, times are different now, YT people are a little bit more welcoming. No, they have a certain mentality that has been going on for ages, and they do think like that. They don't like too many black people in one place. But that is something my sister told me actually like 3 days ago. And her and her friend from middle school still talk to this day. But when they were comparing stories, and yeah, that party was good, I didn't see you there, and they're like, oh, I wasn't invited to that party, or I wasn't invited there, they absolutely switched them off. So that's just one thing that I just wanted to say.
Well, thank you, Bria.
hmm
Appreciate that. Okay. Mo, you said you wanted to push back.
wanted to say, because I agreed with Jasmine. I really am a firm believer. You are what your mother is. You are what your mother is. You came out of her stomach and her womb, and I don't really see this person, but I heard that he was some kind of Filipino or something. She just said, um, she doesn't have the same experiences that we have to have that protection and that knowledge of what's going on in the community. I have seen a video going around where there a man with the microphone that said he went to a lot of different racial people, different groups of races, and he said, "If you can be anything besides yourself, what race would you be?" And a lot of white tea women, Asian women, Hispanic women said they would rather be a white man. A lot of Asian men and other ethnic groups of men who were on non-white said they would rather be a white man. The only people who said they wanted to be BLK were BLK people. So they are wanting to be this. They want that's they strive to be in that community.
Mm.
And that's what they are. They want to be. They want to be in proximity to it. And we were the only people that be like, if we came back in our lifetime, in another lifetime, we would be the same person. So you are what your mother is. This was a Filipino mother, because when I was watching that thing, it was a lot of Filipino people saying, I would be a white tea man. They want to be in proximity to white tea people. They don't have the same experiences as us, and she didn't give him the tools. She didn't have the knowledge or the understanding of what could happen to her child with that afro on his head. And that's all I wanted to say is she doesn't even know how to take care of his hair. And he went out on a trip on a boat because she didn't have that understanding growing up in the Philippines or whatever's going on. She just knew she wanted to come over here to America and they doing good and her baby is handsome and she had a BLK baby daddy or whatever and her son looked handsome, but she don't know the dangers that we know. So that's why I wanted to give the pushback. I get what you're saying, but
Yeah,
you are what your mother is.
Okay.
Can I make one comment?
I'm not disagreeing with that part at all. What I'm just trying to add is the fact that the mom being black and the dad not being black does not mean that there is no danger. Does not mean that there is no outside of the community influence. I'm not saying what you said is incorrect in any way at all. I fully agree with it actually. I'm saying that if the dad is not a black man as well too, we can't assume that there is no danger because let's be honest. What type of principles do you think a woman is going to teach her kid if she's having babies with a non-black man? She's not going to teach him to be afraid of or be cautious of white people. If she got a white husband, a white baby daddy, she ain't going to be teaching him to, hey, you need to be careful around them folk. You need to watch out. She laying up with them.
But Afro, we don't know if his father was there or not. Unless, like you said, the mother is the first teacher. He could be working 12-hour shifts every day. And it's not, I have seen this. Unless something has happened to the mother or whatever, and the daddy is raising them, the mother is the one who is teaching them what is there. It's like, their children are BLK, but they're not there teaching them that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if his father's there or not. But it's not the same. And I'm not doing this man versus woman stuff. It's really not the same.
I'm not saying it's the same, but it's a problem. It is a problem, and it is a problem. It's not the same. I don't think it's the same. I will agree, it's not the same, but it is a problem though, because if you have a woman out there who, in her discernment and her decision making, she can be impregnated by non-black men. She's not going to be warning her kids about the dangers outside the community. She's not. I don't. And I'm not saying you're saying she is, but I'm saying we're assuming that the black mom, he's gonna grow up thinking I'm black first and I love black people and black this anything. More than likely, if she's going out there, there's a high chance of self-hate
Can I
it's a
bring
high
this back to
chance
the
of
prompt too,
infantilizing. So we
Afro?
just got to be
I knew
careful
she was
with
gonna
all
jump
of this
in.
stuff.
Phoenix, really quickly. I'm gonna be very quick and BX, and I
Okay.
appreciate you guys for me. I'm gonna say this really quickly. Going back to the prompt. This is the whole point of the pictures, right? That first image is a non-American woman. That's a Caribbean woman that migrated to freaking Georgia. Forsyth County to be exact, right? Then on the bottom, you have a kid whose mother is maybe half Filipino, but from whatever I've seen, is she's 100% Filipino. The Filipinos have darker skin complexions. They have the negritos there, but that's besides the point. The point is these are two groups of people who have non FBA B1 mothers, and they are
Jasmine,
teaching
can I
your
please make
kids
a comment?
that this is freaking okay.
Okay.
Can I make a comment, please?
Let's
Go on,
let
Mary.
Mary go ahead.
Okay, all right. I just want to say because the what Jasmine is saying, I think it needs to be pointed out that like what you said, Afro, that doesn't necessarily mean just because you have a Black American mother that you would be taught that or okay. There's a certain set of people, and I'm going to give the example like Carmelo Anthony's family, where you grow up in a certain space, and you think you want better for your kids, and you send them to schools like that because you think they're actually going to learn better and have all those other opportunities, not knowing that you're putting them in a situation where they have to deal with what is involved with being in those type of environments. For me myself, I went to an all YT school, but my mom grew up in the projects. So when she sent me there, she thought she was sending me somewhere better, somewhere that I would get a better education. It's not a good idea to send y'all think so, but I don't. You should send your kids to all YT schools at all. There are Black institutions that are private that will educate them. My cousins went to them. When you put them in those situations, they're getting trained and framed to think a certain way. And when I was in my early 20s, I thought it was okay because it worked really great for corporate America. But when I got in my 30s, I better understood I was being framed to think certain things about things around me. And that's from being in those type of environments, regardless if you attach yourself to any BLK people that are at the school.
All
Yeah,
right. Thank you.
I want
Let's
to back
yeah, go
sister up
ahead.
on this one. All right, I won't be long. So I think that what's being missed is that what's best for the kids is to have both parents there. There's a reason for a mother, there's a reason for a father, and wherever the mother lacks, the father's going to pick up. So regardless to if the mother is not FBA or vice versa, and they're dating or marrying outside the culture, um, that person is always going to obviously they want to assimilate, right? And they're gonna teach their kids to do the same thing. So yeah, you need the pops there for protection and definitely some enforcement when the mom is not necessarily making the best decision.
All right. All right. Phoenix, did you want to say something? Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I'm I'm just saying we need to watch out for the kids. Phoenix, you want to say something?
Yes. You started to discuss it and understand this. It's not just about the formative years, it's the fact that the mother is the person the child is seeing the world with. That child will experience racism because the mother is black. That child will see the world differently and understand the difference and the nuances because the mother is black. The child will be with the primary parent during those formative years. It is not even almost the same because blackness as an experience and being a black woman, you cannot get away from it. When a black male seeks a white woman, he is usually rejecting the women in his community. And majority of black women who find themselves with other men is because there is a limited access to certain
Can,
things.
can I
And
can I
I, and
I'm gonna
it's
let you
and
finish. I'm gonna
there
let you
is
finish,
also
but I want
okay,
to
and
address that.
and there is also preference, and there is also trauma. There can be many issues. It's not one mindset. It's not what you think it is. And for the most part, even we as Black American people, not all of us have a little bit of the white in us from chains,
Mm-hmm.
because there was a time where people were more integrated, even in the 1800s, before, these people ran at us like they're running at us now. And I know that you're intelligent, so you know the history. And in some places now used to have black representation, hasn't had black representation since 1900. So when we're educated and we understand this, we shouldn't make blanket statements. And at no point in time, if you have a black mother going through life and you're on their hip and in their life, you will see and experience racism just because the mother is black. You will have to navigate life, and the mother will have conversations with you because that's a part of life experience.
Okay. Well, let me do this.
And most white men know that their children are black.
Okay,
They know that.
let's do this though. Let's do this. Okay. The narrative that when a black man steps out, that's him rejecting the community, I don't disagree with. But it's somehow different when a black woman does it. No, it's the same. And in order for us to address the problem, we have to be honest about it. It is the same. You don't grow attraction because that's not, and here's how I'm saying it's the same, because that's not the way human attraction works. You don't dislike one group to the point where now you're attracted to another group without there already being attraction there from the beginning. Let's be honest. These are kids who grew up watching the same cartoons, seeing the same white prince with blonde hair and blue eyes. And even if they didn't have and thank God, majority of black women don't do this at all. But even if they didn't have a super strong attraction or a strong preference for them, there was attraction to them. There was like, ooh, Brad Pitt is fine. There's been attraction to him. Let's not act like they were always disgusted by white men until a brother broke their heart. Now they go into a white man. That's not how human being attraction works. There was always some borderline attraction to white tea people always existing. Even if it wasn't your primary type, which for most black women, it's not. But even if it wasn't your primary type, that attraction was always there. Okay. And now you're acting on it. And if you're acting on it, just say that then. Don't say I'm acting on this because black men ain't doing this. They not meeting my standards or whatever the case. No, it's not. The black dudes who were white women or passport bros or whatever the case is, that's not because sisters was breaking your heart and they too ratchet to ghetto. That's because you grew up watching the same, um, you grew up watching the same cartoons and the love interest was always some blonde hair white woman, and that's what you grew up being attracted to. You watched the same Disney movies and you saw the same white princess and white prince, and you grew up and you developed an attraction to that because that's what America's society promotes. That is their standard, and they put that in the media, they put that in propaganda. Okay, they put that on magazines and they put that in modeling shows. It by osmosis, it teaches and it conditions you to be attracted to that. By American standards, there is an automatic attraction. Now you can resist it. I'm not saying everybody's attracted to white people. I'm not saying that at all. But if it turns out that you're like that, there was probably already signs of it. There was already signs of it. And I'm just saying, let's be honest about that. Because most black men ain't doing that, and most black women ain't doing that. It's only a very small percentage of them who do that. You know. So I
Well,
think we
that's a
need to be
different
honest about that.
conversation, and that's not about being honest, because that's a different conversation. And I'm very much aware about the programming and about
Mm-hmm.
the whiteness and about the white Jesus and about the
Mm-hmm.
whitening of the world, because there's anti-blackness everywhere in the world, which is a major issue. This is not new to me. That was not the subject that we were discussing. So I don't have an issue with that, but you can't make that blanket statement. You are not the therapist or the psychologist for that. And the reality is that people do receive an impression based upon propaganda and all of those things. And you're correct about the beauty standards. But as it's been said, and we all know that black women tend to choose black men. That tends to be their first preference.
Yeah.
And when they choose to find a man that suits the bill, it is not because they hate black men. Because when those women give birth to sons, they still give birth to black men.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
cannot equate it because it is not
No,
equal.
I'm not saying it's
It
equal,
may
man. Hold
there
on,
may
man.
be
Hold
there
on,
may
ma'am.
be
Hold on.
struggles.
Hold
Okay.
on. Hold on. I'm not saying that they hate black men. I'm not saying that they hate them, but I'm saying that there was always some subtle desire for a YT man. Just like with black men
Oh, never that.
who date white women. They probably don't hate black women, but there was always some desire for it. And this is the thing that we have to be honest about, because otherwise things are not going to change. Things aren't going to change.
So
Be honest too.
I
Yeah, because I know you have another. I know that BX said she was going to come back soon. And I know that Foundational, your other mods are in the comments, but I started to. It's crazy. I'm starting to get a little confused about this freaking prompt. Only black friend in this group. We've already established that these two people are not fully black. That's one thing about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we should probably hear other perspectives. And I'm always gonna do like a little friendly fire or whatever, but it's going way too far. That's just my opinion. I don't know who's next. I think Brooks is up here insane, and I don't freaking know.
Yeah, yeah. But I just wanted to be abundantly clear about my stance. We'll get to Brooke, then we'll get to Saint, and then we'll wrap things up there.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Afro. Um, this notion that just because it's a black mother with a non-black father means that the child has been raised more black, I think is, especially when it comes to this type of situation, is a little delusional, in my opinion. Because if you chose, a lot of times when you're choosing a non-black partner, it is because you have a worldview that is different from the rest of us that would choose a black partner. Now, I will talk about myself as a black woman. I don't care how long I have to be by myself. I'm not choosing a white tea partner ever. I don't give a shucks. Okay? There's nothing in this world that could make me choose a white tea man to procreate with. And if you have that proclivity to do so, it's usually because you have this, you know what I'm saying? Like he said, this underlying love or whatever. Now, I'm not here to chastise you for that, but to think that, once if you're open to that, then a lot of times you're open to, well, baby, you know what I'm saying? Life is life. People are people. We're human beings. There's no such thing as, you know what I'm saying, race. Look at, what's her name? What's that girl who married the prince?
Meghan
One
Markle.
of the,
Meghan Markle.
she got a black mother. She was thoroughly confused. She thought that the royal family was going to welcome her in with open arms, and that did not happen. She thought they was going to accept her piece of black child, with open arms. That did not happen. And so this is this, now are there anomalies on both sides? Absolutely. There's going to be a 1 in 5, maybe, and I'm just pulling numbers out my behind. A 1 in 5 black men who married a white tea woman who's going to raise their children to be pro-black. There's going to be 1 in 5 black women who married a white tea man who's going to, raise their children to be pro-black. But as a whole, they both have the notion or the oh, I can't even think of the word that I'm looking for. They both have it in them to have that ideology where they don't see race, they don't see this, and they raise their children accordingly. And so this is the issue. So I 100% agree with you, Afro Elite, like that. Like, you chose a non-black person to have kids with. How pro-black can you be? And I'm not saying you can't learn, grow, change, all of these things. But if that's what you chose, like I said, ain't nothing in the world. I don't care how bad black American men treat me or black men in general treat me. I'm not doing it. There's nothing that you could do because that's how pro-black I am. That there's nothing in this world that could get me to flip over to the other side. And so I have to stand with you, Afro, on that, as a black woman. And so I just, wanted to reinforce what you were saying.
All right, thank you.
And I can appreciate that. And you don't have room to chastise me. And I can respect your views. I do not have to agree with them. And I understand your feelings. However,
Afro, is this a
Hey,
personal beef that's going on?
there's no scientific
hold
Thank you for the
evidence.
on, hold
gifts,
on,
whoever.
Phoenix, hold on. She wasn't chastising you. She was just agreeing with my stance and my perspective. I don't think she was coming at anybody in particular. All right.
She actually stated that she wasn't doing that very thing to me.
Yeah.
And when she was speaking, I listened intently and not just to respond. And I discussing something that's evidence based,
Okay, but we're
but
gonna
you're
move. Hold
entitled
on,
to
Phoenix. Hold
opinions.
on, Phoenix.
Okay.
Hold on.
First
Now
of
we're
all,
gonna
let me
move on
speak
to
for
Saint.
myself. I speak like that in general.
Okay.
You may not know me, but that's how I speak. Period. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm that type. I'm that girl. I speak like that.
Okay,
So
Brooklyn.
if
I'm
you,
from
I was
Queens. I understand.
my bigger is for agreeing with Afro.
I got it.
All right.
And I'm your sister over here in Queens. Got it.
Got you.
Well,
Let's get
then
to
why are you
let's.
even? Then you should understand more than anybody else.
All right.
I understand how to navigate through life. This is the most diverse place in the world.
Exactly. That's what I was
Okay.
gonna
Okay,
say.
can
Let's.
I
Well,
can I
All
we're
interject
right,
hold
real
all
on.
right,
Now
quick?
we're
all right.
moving.
Mary's not up
Yeah,
yet.
Stop.
I didn't
Stop.
get to
Stop.
Hold
talk
Hold
on,
on.
yet.
y'all.
Hold
I
Hold
on.
said what
I
I
on.
didn't get to
said.
talk yet.
Now,
Yeah,
and
hold
now let's get
on.
to
Hold
I
let's
didn't
on.
get
let's
to
what
Y'all,
speak.
I
y'all,
said. What I
Start
said.
dropping folks.
what's going on,
All
y'all?
right.
The Afro
Come on.
allows one mic, and then when he calls on you, then you get to speak. This is not them loving hip hop lives where we go screaming, yelling, wilding out. This is a different live where we have respect. We don't have to agree, but we talking to men though, because again, this gonna be played back, and we get a lot of people watching. So let's keep it respectful. We don't have to, we can disagree, but let's keep it respectful. That's it, please. Thank you.
Let's get to Saint and then Foundation. We'll wrap it up there.
How y'all doing?
We good. How you doing?
Peace, peace.
As far as the prompt, only black friend. I don't know about this boy too much. I think we're still trying to find out. I was wondering if his father is a black American or is he like African or Caribbean?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Okay, because I know homegirl above, she's Caribbean and she was one of those I know black women
Mm.
who took it upon herself. Like she intently decided to not. She moved to a sundown town. Like what you expect to happen? And there's a real like division between people who marry outside the race, people who and just fall in love with somebody or intently go with outside the race. Like I'm not dating anybody that looks like me. I'm only dating the Ken doll over here, and we're moving to a sundown town, and I'm gonna be the black friend that they all need for for the pictures on Facebook. You could put up here as well as the homeboy, the African dude that got poked up by his girlfriend in the penthouse, and then they found all the tweets on his
Mm-hmm.
Twitter and his sister Twitter calling us akatas and shit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real difference. And when people come over here and legally get their like green card and things like that, they teach them. They have to pass a test and they tell them things like where not to go, what neighborhoods not to move in, who to stay away from. It's things like that. And there's little nuances. They won't say straight out black, but there's nuances. I mean, come on now. We all know context clues.
Yeah.
And they come here on their own. They'll be on the journey over here, and their peoples back in their hometown be like, okay, stay away from the black Americans. Like, you're different.
Yeah.
Now, as
I,
far as the dating goes, you see, I grew up in a very diverse area. Nobody's one thing. There's a whole lot of mixed people. Most people are first and second generation and whatever. My school was diverse. Everything. The clubs we went to was diverse. The church was diverse. So I like if you fall in love with somebody that don't necessarily look like you, it was never an intention. The people that I know wasn't an intention. It just so happened that way. I dated a guy that was passing, and
that
if somebody
that
didn't
was
come
who?
correct,
You dated the guy that was who?
passing,
Passing. Okay.
yes. And if somebody didn't come correct, like he's sitting around, I don't know, listening to Limp Biscuit, and somebody says something out the side of their mouth, that man will go off bigger than anybody I ever seen.
Okay. All right.
Especially now in this generation, it's kind of hard to really gauge that because there are, like I said, there are people that intentionally go to the other side, and there are people who are in those regions. And from this country, region to region, city to city, coast to coast, we all have different cultures too. So sometimes I give people grace with their like views and their opinions and stuff. Well, most of the time because they didn't grow up the way that I grew up. I know that.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask this. Would you guys ever fall in love with a 84-year-old old lady accidentally? Could you guys see that happening?
If
See
she's
you,
rich, I can
the
see it
84-year-old.
happening.
Now, hold
I'm
on.
not
Let me ask
attracted
the
to
question. Now,
women.
hold on. Let me ask. Could y'all see that happen? It was an accident. That's kind of my thing about accidentally falling in love. Like, oh no, did it? You don't just accidentally fall in love. It was something that you were welcoming beforehand. It had to have been some welcoming of that to create the environment of that in the first place. Although you don't just accidentally like I'm just in love with um uh Mrs. Johnson over there. She over there with dentures and all that. Come on, oh,
You funny,
Well,
yes.
I'm not necessarily.
Mr.
Wait,
Afro,
I'm not
proximity.
attracted to women, but like, it depends. Like, I understand what you're
or
saying. I don't. I never intently said like I've never had. You could line all my exes up in a room. No two of them look the same. I never fell for anybody by the way they look most of the time. Anyway, and like if you're with someone, if you're in class with someone, if you're in, I don't know, like you go to after school with someone, you at work with someone, and you do like you know who you like and who you don't like. Just because they don't look like you, you're gonna say, "Oh no, I'm not even gonna, spend no time with them or nothing, get to know them or nothing." What if they was a white dude that was adopted by a black family?
Yep, that's what I've done. That's exactly what I've done. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, that right there. Like,
Oh my,
y'all love who you want to love, and I'm not attacking you for loving who you want to love, but the way you said that, that's exactly what I did. The person did not. I was like, nah, son,
I'm
nah,
gonna be so
can't do it.
honest right now, and I feel like this is my fault. So now I see why you guys always chastise me, whatever, and then I'm like randomly put on pictures with you guys, like Jasmine and so hurt my feelings. So, no, we absolutely have to point to these very specific things with your prompt being only black friend. Looking at the black friend, thinking about who raised that black friend, top picture a Caribbean, bottom picture a mom that may or may not be 100% Filipino or a half.
okay.
But there's a pattern here, right? Of those people doing those type of things in our community, whether they're by ethnic or by racial, and having a white mom and a white or a white mom or whatever. But for me, it wasn't about some divide against our men. So I want to put that out there. Like Afro Elite was saying earlier, no, it's both of us. We both have to be held accountable for the choices that we make. But I feel like a lot of the Black moms, FBA moms, B1 moms, will absolutely be like, no, don't sit there being the only person around those groups of people who we have this history with, right? So, I mean, I land there. That was my point.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Foundation, you got it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Wow, this was an interesting conversation. I ain't gonna lie, Afro. This was a this is a very interesting conversation. But it's good to hear different perspectives. It's good to hear. I want us to be able to navigate this conversation and understand there are some people that's gonna they're gonna love who they are, who they're gonna love, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. They still are people. They still are people as long as they own code, they're not talking against and they're not saying nothing vile, nasty, demonic. Shout outs to them. They can do what they want to do. It's their life, right? My thing is, in regards to the topic, this is why I say I think that a lot of people haven't studied enough history. I think that when it come down to it, people are becoming too trusting and not understanding history. History leaves clues, culture leaves clues. So I would never be hanging out with anybody without it being a cowboy. I'm gonna be a cowboy, I promise you, right on my hip. I'm gonna have me, some kind of protection to make sure I'm good. I would never be alone. I would have some other friends or something to let it be known because I don't trust nobody like that, to be honest with you. So I'm not gonna be out hanging out. I don't care how cool. We could be cool and all that. Yo, shout outs to you. We can play pool, go here, there, and everything, but y'all want to go hunting, and because I have a few that want me to go hunting with them in PA, and they do this hunting thing. They stay out for like the weekend. They don't wear deodorant because they don't want the deer to smell, the deodorant. So they going out there musty, and they got their little pew pews and everything. Because I like pew pews. I got my whole closet full of them, and I like to do my pew pew thing. And they want me to go out there with them. Now you already know I ain't going. You already know I ain't going. Now it's not because I'm scared. Is I'm afraid for what I'm gonna do because I promise you, I'm not going down without a fight. But again, no hate, no bullying. But my thing is, I don't trust nobody enough to be going nowhere. To going nowhere with them by myself, right? And especially without protection, especially if you're a woman, especially if you're a younger man, right? You got to be able to defend yourself. You got to be able to protect yourself and have something. I don't care if it's OC. I don't care if it's pepper spray. I don't care if it's taser. Something. You got to have something to protect yourself. Because again, history leaves clues, culture leaves clues, and they have a lineage in history of doing things to undermine us. So yeah, I don't trust them. That's just me. So I'm gonna land on that.
All right. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. I got to get off here. But this was I think it was interesting the way the conversation kind of pivoted, and we were able to discuss that for a little bit. That was an interesting thing. We were able to get different opinions and stuff like that out. So, all right, cool. And it's okay if we don't change people's minds. Everybody can have their opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion or whatnot. But my stance is still my stance on it. And as far as that, to sum up what Marshall said, what Foundational said, no, these people can't be trusted. These people can't be. And they will wear people down. They will sit up there and ask you and nag you and peer pressure you and say, okay, well, just come out for a little bit. Okay, just a little bit. They will wear you down and you be like, oh, it's not that bad. And then you go out there maybe one time and have fun. You will have a fun time. And they'll be like, come back, come back. And it'll take 2 more times until they notice your head's not on a swivel. They notice you leaving your phone on the charger. You walking around. You don't know where you're going. You drinking crazy. Now, ain't nobody drinking as much as you drinking, getting all tipsy and all that stuff. That's when they know, oh, okay, we got him now. So I'm just
Mm-hmm.
warning y'all, don't do that.
And they like to say little passive aggressive things, right? And this is how I start to know and realize it's all cool and they like to test you every once in a while. They'll say something passive aggressive, like they'll make a joke, Michelle Obama was a man, and this, that, and third. Hold on, fam. Nah, we're not gonna joke or play. They think you're gonna joke and play with them. No, we ain't doing it. Now, I don't, agree with Obama and all that. But you're not gonna sit here and call her a man and none of that little jokey joke stuff in front of me. Now y'all can play amongst yourselves, but around me, we're not gonna play like that. So they do a little passive aggressive. They throw little jokes out there to see how you gonna, and they want to see, are you gonna be soft and sweet and you're gonna bend to the joke and start laughing and tucking your tail, or are you gonna stand on it, put your line in the stand and say something? And they know
Or
they
those
know they
condescending
realize not to play with
jokes.
me like that no more.
They like
Yeah.
to give you condescending compliments too, or like, "Oh, your hair is real long. You sure? Like, you don't have nothing in you, like little things like
Mm-hmm.
that."
Yeah.
Or, "Oh, like,
And
you're
Yeah.
real slim." Usually, I know black girls and they
yeah,
got big booties, like things like
yeah.
that, and you're like,
That's
"What?"
exactly. And that's their way of putting their foot in the water. That's their way of gauging where you are at and gauging your level of consciousness. Because if you push back immediately, it's like, oh, okay, he's not that one. He's not the one we want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can't try him.
Yep.
You let it go, and then they push and they push and be like, okay, he's soft, she's soft. That's what they're gonna see. It's their way of putting their foot in the water. So it's a little joke. I ain't gonna call you the N word
No.
flat out. It's a little joke. It's a little something enough where they have plausible deniability. Be like, oh no, didn't mean it like that. It was a
Oh,
joke.
you
Mm-hmm.
listen to Taylor Swift? Get
Yes,
out of here! I
Afro.
thought you
Say
would be
that.
more
Say that out
this.
loud.
You be like,
Yes.
"What?"
Yeah. There's one time they said to the one dude, right? I was in a group and it was this one other black dude there. He's not as he don't have the ethnic cultural pride the way he should. I be talking to him all the time to try to, but he a young boy. So they came up to him. They said congratulations. And he's like, what? What happened? He said congratulations for going home. And what you mean going home? For being the first black dude to go home to your kids.
Mm,
Oh,
And they start laughing, going crazy, right? And he laughed with them. And I had to pull him to the
I,
side. My man, you bugging. No, listen, don't let nobody play. I had grabbed him by the neck. Don't let nobody play with you like Stop letting
that
people
sounds
play
like an
with you like
insult.
that.
That sounds like
Right,
a
because
straight up insult.
Foundation and Afro, someone just said like the roast for Kevin Hart. Because ain't no way.
yeah.
Right,
Ain't no way.
right,
That
They
was
be
right.
like,
too
"Oh, your
much.
parents are married.
That
Get out!
was
My
too
parents ain't
much of
married."
an insult. They were crossing the line. They were seeing what they can do. They
That
could
was
see it. They were seeing how far they can go. They were seeing what his face was looking like, and ain't no way. We got to
that's
shut
what his
it
goofy
down.
ass get
This
though.
is the
Like,
year. This is the time for our people. We not playing this game no more.
that
Yeah,
wasn't
Yeah.
no
yeah. And
many
sure
moons
enough,
old.
they know
But
who
what
to
y'all
play
don't
with. They don't play with me
understand,
like that.
what y'all don't understand is like, we all brothers and sisters, but everybody's not gonna be able to go. It's them Kevin Harts that you have to look out for too, because they'll be the first one. You see how the Black Panthers went down. They'll
Mm-hmm.
be the first ones to really, like, sell you out.
Yep. But
Everybody can't go.
I gotta get out of here, y'all. I
All
gotta
right.
All
gotta
right.
get out of here. Okay, y'all make sure y'all go to For the Coach. I didn't even realize what time it was. I
Wait,
really
are
didn't.
we doing all of our final thoughts though? Because I want to play like one more, like just
Yeah,
one
nah,
more.
I think he gotta rush out. He got a YouTube. He
Well,
got
can
stuff
I
he gotta
play
do.
my last thing for
Yeah,
your prompt?
he rushed.
What was your last thing, Jasmine?
Thank you. So my second prompt, because I was talking about that earlier when
Wait,
I
how
was
long
at.
is it though? How long
No,
is it?
it's like 1 minute,
Okay.
like a minute and a half. Are you ready?
Okay.
So the prompt was, and how about the unalivings that happen in these circumstances coming to being the only Black friend in that community? So here we go. I'll ground this historically rather than treating it like a present day rule. The key distinction is deaths that happened because someone was isolated, outnumbered, or dependent on white witnesses' authorities in a racially unequal system. Yes, historically, some Black people did die specifically because they were isolated, outnumbered, or accused by white people in settings where white testimony carried more power. Major death patterns, circumstance, how deaths happened, false accusation, a white person accused a Black person, and a mob or court acted before truth mattered. Being outnumbered, a Black person had no witnesses or allies when conflict started. Offending a white woman, even minor or fabricated claims could trigger lynching. The NAACP notes rape accusations were often fabricated and used to enforce racial control. Workplace or travel isolation.
Black workers, travelers, or migrants could be targeted away from their community. Court-backed death. All white juries and unequal courts turned accusations into death sentences, like the Scottsboro Boys case.
Almost done.
The scale was massive. The Equal Justice Initiative documented over 4,400 racial terror lynchings from 1877 to 1950 and nearly 6,500 Black lynching victims from 1865 to 1950, when Reconstruction-era killings are included.
Killings.
Emmett Till is the clearest example. He was 14, visiting Mississippi, accused of offending a white woman in a store, then abducted and murdered by white men. So the historical danger was not just being around white people. It was being the only Black person inside a racial power structure where accusation, numbers, and white credibility could become lethal.
So people keep asking in the comments why this matters, because if you guys can read, the prompt says only Black friend, then you use your context clues, right? You look at the two pictures on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, we gotta head it on now.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, and I land there.
All right.
No problem.
Y'all make sure y'all go to For the Culture on YouTube and listen to the playback. Thank you guys. Y'all hit that like button. Y'all hit that subscribe.